Howdy, Game Race fans. I look like I'm in a fog, but I'm going to try and record this tonight. That way it has ample enough time to upload and be ready for tomorrow. So it's Thursday and you have your religion test today and you're in the social studies and you're studying. It's your last day in your packet for ELA before we have our spelling, vocabulary, and comprehension test tomorrow. And what else? And we're in math. And it's our last day in math before we have a review test tomorrow. So today we're talking about numbers that are greater than 1, and we're in chapter 13, lesson 3, page 420, page 421. And without further ado, I'm going to share my whiteboard and we'll go from there. Okay, so here we go. Let's start from the beginning. So we're just talking about decimals greater than 1, and all those are our mixed numbers. Now, I did have one or two of you forget what a mixed number is. A mixed number is a number that's a whole and a fraction. When you write a mixed number, you're going to have a whole and a fraction. This is a mixed number. Okay? When you write a mixed number, you're going to have a whole and a fraction. If you look at all those examples on 3 through 25, most of those are all mixed numbers. Oh, no, all of those are all mixed numbers. So they all have wholes and they have fractions next to it. Mixed numbers, meaning it's a mix. You have parts and wholes. It's a mix of both. Okay, so today we're talking about how to write it as a decimal number and as a fraction, and it's pretty much just building off of what we've done in the last 2 days. So let's do a review. First, we learned that this is a decimal point. We learned that this space is called the tenths. We learned that this space is called the hundredths. And then we learned that this space is just the ones. And these are everything over here is whole numbers. And everything over here are parts. Okay? All right. We learned that a decimal is pretty much the same thing as a fraction, except a decimal is shown with a decimal point and a fraction is shown with a fraction line with a number on the top and a number on the bottom. All right, quick review. Let's go look at number 1, shall we? They're looking at pictures. And the first thing I note is that if I'm dealing with mixed numbers, I already see one of those holes is completely shaded, which means my whole number is going to be a big number 1. Well, then I see part of the next one is shaded, which means I'm going to have a fraction. And I have to ask myself, how many are in the whole? What's my denominator? How many pieces is that piece cut into? And it is 10. Then I ask myself, how many green pieces are shaded? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 pieces are shaded. That is the fraction for that picture. If you remember back in our fraction chapter, this is what we had done before. So this should just be a great review. I see 1 whole pizza shaded and then 4 out of 10 pieces shaded. But it looks more like, I don't know what they look like, nerd ropes to me. Or something, I'm not sure. Long pieces of something, not sure. But then, since we're in a decimal lesson, hold on, the baby is not wanting to go to sleep tonight. So I'm gonna close the door and be right back. So hold on 1 second. And I'm back. The door is closed, so we'll see how long she still wants to scream. Bedtime in the Fry house. Okay, so now we're asked, how do we turn this into a decimal number? Well, then we have to ask ourselves about place value points. If I have my decimal point, I know the holes are over here and the parts are over here. Well, the first thing I can write in is my holes. How many holes do I have? Remember, the big numbers represent the holes. Well, I have 1 hole. I can write that right there. I have 1 hole. He goes over on the whole side. Well, now I can write the parts because the parts are going to go over here on the other side of the decimal. So then I look at the place value and it says the tenths. Well, where is the 10th? The 10ths are here. So what number is that? 4. Do I have anything in the hundreds? No. So the answer to this in a decimal point is 1.4. 1 whole and 4 tenths. Okay? It's all about just learning and reviewing your place value, learning where things go and learning how to say it and learning how it looks both ways. Let's do the example of number 2. I think this one's just an odd one today. So let me do number 2 with you. First thing I ask myself is I know I'm dealing with wholes and parts. So I ask myself, how many wholes are completely shaded? I see 3 wholes that are completely shaded. 1, 2, 3. Then I know I'm going to deal with parts. Well, whenever I see those tiny little squares, that's a hundreds cube. So I know that my denominator is going to be 100. And then I have to go and I can count by tens to try and see how many of those little 100 squares. I don't have to count them one by one. I can count by 10. So I see 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and then 3 little extras. So I have 53 of these little squares shaded. So now my question is, in this chapter, how do I write this fraction as a decimal? First thing I do is I draw my decimal point. Next thing I do is I ask myself, how many wholes do I have? I have 3 wholes. I can draw my 3 right there. Next, I ask myself, what is my decimal point? What do I have? What place value do I have to go to? And I see that I'm in the hundreds. So that means I'm going to have 2 numbers there. Well, if I look at top, ooh, I have 2 numbers. So it's very easy to put right there. I have 2 numbers and they go right in those 2 spots. So that would be 3 wholes and 53 hundredths. Okay. Let me just do one example. If I had, I'm going to go to number 24. And 24 looks like this, 8 hundredths. First thing I do is I draw my decimal point. I ask myself, how many wholes do I have? Well, I have 8 wholes, so I draw my 8. Then I look and I say, what decimal point am I in? Well, I have to be in the hundredths decimal point. So whenever this number is on top, has to go into the hundredth spot. And I can't leave the 10th spot blank, so I have to put a 0. So this is 8 and 8 hundredths. I have to put a 0 there if it's blank. Okay. All right. Just like if I was to have the number 100 over here, I have nothing in the tens and nothing in the units, but I have to put zeros there. I just can't say this is 100. I still have to put zeros there so that I know with my eyes that I see the place values and this is actually 100, okay? All right, let me go to another one. You have the number lines. These are pretty tricky, but still very, very easy. I'm going to do number 26 because that's an even one. It starts at 2.0. And I'm just going to go to where it goes to 2.5. Okay. They also give you 2.1. And then you see those little lines there. Guys, this is so easy. You're just counting up. So it's just like, that's 2 and 1/10. This is 2 and 2/10. This is 2 and 3/10. This is 2 and 4/10. And then that would be 2 and 5/10. Okay. When it gets up to here, when it starts at the 2.5 and it goes up to the 3.0, look how this happens. This is 2.6, 2.7, 2.8, 2.9. Can I do 2.10? Or would that just be 2.1 over again? That would just be 2.1 over again. Okay, there's no such thing as 2.10. Okay, it has to move up to the next number, just like it's growing. Okay, getting closer and closer to becoming the whole, the next whole number. All right. So then you have yes or no questions for 28 through 33. And it says write yes or no and explain your answer. Does 1 and 10 tenths equal 2? Number 28. Does 1 and 10 tenths equal 2? Well, let's look at it. I see this is one whole, right? So now I have to add my parts. Oh, but I know that if the number is above itself, if a 10 is above a 10, or a 4 is above a 4, or a 2 is above a 2, I know that those are the same as one whole. So actually, if I wanted to, I could say that is the same as another whole. So does that equal 2? Yes, 2. 1 and 10 tenths is the same as 2. Ooh, let's try another one. I'll do number 30. Does 3 and 1/10, hold on, get rid of that little dot there. 3 and 1/10 equal that? What's the first thing I do? If I'm looking at this, first thing I do is I draw my decimal point and I ask myself, what do I have in the ones place? How many holes do I have? How many holes do I have? I have 3 holes. Then I look at my decimal point and I say, what place value am I in? I'm going to be in the tens, and I have 1 in the tens. Is this what I see there? No, it's not. Does this equal that? No, it equals 3.1. Okay. I foresee some people that will need, and don't forget to do the critical thinking, guys. You are going to do 35 and 37 there. Okay. Yep. All right. I foresee some people needing to come to the 2 o'clock session tomorrow. That's perfectly fine. Also, if you need to come to the 2 o'clock session tomorrow, don't forget, if you have any other questions about ELA, or you have things that you need to question after we do our religion test tomorrow, or whatever you just feel like coming in and doing, we are there at 2 o'clock for you. There was a couple people there today and we were able to work through a lot. Thank you guys for being there and participating. It makes me feel good knowing that you're trying to understand what you're learning. That's a great skill. Using something that's available to you to help you. Yep. We teachers have to do it all the time. I have to go and I have to watch videos on how to teach certain things. Even if I think I already know how to do fractions, I still need to go watch a video on how I can teach it better. Something I do all the time. That's why we have YouTube, and that's why we have online games, and that's why we have all these resources. So if I'm giving you a resource of meeting together at 2, you probably should take it if you're not understanding. All right. Well, this will be nice and uploaded really early for you tomorrow, and your LMS religion should be uploaded pretty early for you as well, to be able to do that all on the LMS. And then it will just be an easy day, and I'll see you at 10 o'clock. I forget what we're doing for, hold on, let me look here. What is this day's special dress up? It is Around the World. Ooh, that's kind of exciting. Thursdays is Around the World. So whatever you have from somewhere in the world, bring it to us, and we can share and see if you're either wearing it or if you have like just an artifact to share for something around the world. I'd love to see it. All right, I'm back in the fog here, but I hope you have a great day, and I will see you at 10 o'clock. Bye.